another layer that you may not know about Epstein. A recent New York Times report revealed that Wall Street bank JP Morgan Chase had an extended business relationship with Jeffrey Epstein. The bank reportedly opened 134 accounts and processed over $1 billion in transactions for Epstein. And they did it despite warnings by bank employees that doing so could enable Epstein's crimes. And JP Morgan wasn't the only big bank connected to Epstein. Deutsche Bank executives also ignored warnings from their employees and continued to do business with Epstein. Why? Well, they estimated that they could generate up to $4 million a year in revenue from the guy. The American people deserve to know how big banks may have enabled Jeffrey Epstein's crimes. And that's why Democrats on the Senate Banking Committee are calling on Republicans to hold a hearing as soon as possible to hear from the executives of these big banks that worked with Epstein, including JP Morgan CEO Jamie Dimon. Their testimony could help Congress ensure that something like this never happens again. So, Senate Republicans, what are you afraid of? Call the hearing.
Yeah, I don't think it's going to happen because even if it does, they're just going to dodge everything. They're not going to perjury. What am I trying to say? They're not going to lie on the stand in front of Congress. This is old news, really. There's multiple really in-depth articles covering this topic related to the banks. And, the banks, they disregarded their own rules to be able to do this. They had rules in place that they follow normally that they put to the side to be able to do this. It's all about money, right? Just making money. It's crazy because, the more money you have, the less the law pertains to you. What did they say? If you just have to pay a fine, then it's legal for a price, something like that. So yeah, that's the way the game goes. And yeah, these banks are shady. You have to call this money laundering, right? I mean, like, what else are they doing? It's dirty money getting washed. It is what it is.
There is another layer.
Comments. It says 134 accounts. Why so many? Is this recent or in the past? Come on, bro. Is it recent or in the past? Come on, wake up, wake up, wake up, wake up. Epstein's been unalived for a good amount of time now, bro. So it's not recent. Come on, man. Another comment says, how much did those two banks give to Trump's campaign? Ooh, dun, dun, dun. Am I even up here for y'all? Okay. I can't see my home screen when I'm looking at this. It says, thank you, Elizabeth Warren, for your relentless investigations into corruption and abuse. Follow the money. Show me the money. It says, who paid him? That sounds like an awful lot of money. Yeah, I mean, human trafficking is pretty profitable. Huge cover up. Senator Warren, please stay safe. Wow, good to know and get the word out on this. Good question, Senator Warren. Figure out who owns these banks, then you will know who is complicit. See, that's where a lot of things get really, really muddy because you have the banks and the investment firms, and they all own each other. It's just a mosh posh of co-ownership, trying to really determine, like, untangle that and figure it out, like, that is nearly impossible. You're just going to be going in a loop. People set up these what do they call them, shell corporations, you know, fake corporations. They don't put stuff in their name. And even once you determine it, then they have these laws that separate the actual people. So then you could go after the corporation, but you won't be able to go after the people. That's something that really needs to be fixed, because people need to be held accountable. If a corporation dumps toxic waste in a river, and doing that saved them $1 billion, and then they get fined, I don't know, 100 million. Well, they just made 900 million. They're good with that. That's the same reason why I don't like the lawsuits that people always talk about. Like when a person gets, wronged personally, and everyone's always like, "Oh, you should sue." Da 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 da. Da. Okay, well, that individual may win the lawsuit and they may get paid, but then the whatever situation that set up that led to that outcome isn't fixed, and it just goes on to the next person. These corporations, they have a budget for this stuff. They have a budget for these lawsuits. It's all a part of the game. It's the cost of doing business. You know, you need to go after the root causes, and you need to arrest these people, lock them up. And that's a deterrent. A fine is not a deterrent. Paying a suit, losing a lawsuit is not a deterrent unless that lawsuit is big enough to put them out of business. I don't see people winning $1 billion lawsuits. Some of these corporations, $1 billion is tissue money. It's office supplies. We're on our way to having trillionaires. What does any of that matter to a $1 trillion company? $1 billion. I think a lot of people don't really understand what $1 trillion. They don't even understand what $1 billion is. The average person. We can't even, our brain can't comprehend that money. $999 million plus another million. Now, $999 billion. Like, that is incomprehensible wealth right there. What do? You can't fight that. You can't fight someone who has $999 billion at their disposal. There's nothing you can do. That's the reason why these corporations need to be busted up, broken apart. We used to do that in this country. We had antitrust laws. I believe we still have a number of them on the books. They're just not enforced. Mergers happening left and right. Major conglomerates getting bigger and bigger. They're multinational conglomerates. They don't care about your nation. There's no loyalty to your nation, to your country, to the people. There's no loyalty. They're going to move where the profit is. They're going to move, it's like an organism. It becomes its own entity, and it protects itself. So it's going to make decisions that protects itself. And once it gets that big, it's what can you do?